Hi everyone, it's Heather Goodenkoff. Welcome to Side Trips, where I get a chance to talk with your favorite authors about their passions, pet projects, and favorite pastimes. And I'm so excited today. We have Brenda Janowitz. She's the acclaimed author of 6 novels, including The Grace Kelly Dress, which was published by HarperCollins Graydon House just this past March. Her work has appeared in the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Sunday Times, and many more. And so, Brenda, we are so excited to have you today. And what is so great about this is we get a chance to talk to authors about something they feel really passionate about or something they love that might be a little different from writing in the book world. So, Brenda, can you tell us about one of your passions? I know you have a lot of them.
I do, but today we're going to talk about bike riding,
Yes.
which I'm really excited about and I rediscovered as an adult. I was a big biker when I was a kid. You could never get me off my bike. But at some point, I guess junior high or when boys were in cars or something, the biking fell off and I didn't pick it up again until I had children. And it was really after my husband and I taught our sons how to ride a bike. At a certain point, I decided, wait, I want to be on the bike too. I don't want to be riding alongside of them. So I got a bike for my birthday a few years ago and I sort of haven't looked back.
Oh, very fun. Now, what is a perfect day for you for bike riding? What do you guys do as a family?
Well, as a family, there's a park here on Long Island that I absolutely love. It has a nice big circle that goes around approximately 3 miles. It has some hills. It's really scenic because a lot of the parks here are former estates. Out on Long Island, I guess, these properties used to belong to big industrialists, like back in the 20s, Gatsby adjacent people. And these properties are amazing. And a lot of them have become state parks rather. And we go to Calumet Park in Lloyd Harbor. It's beautiful. It has an incredible view, a great track that sort of has like rolling hills, not dramatic hills. So you get like a nice little workout. You get beautiful scenery with the lush trees. There's a view because at one point in the bike ride, there's like a hike where you could go all the way down a hill, see some water. That's usually where I sort of like catch my breath and just sort of watch the kids as they run up and down a hill. But you could go hiking at that point.
Sure.
And there's also
Kids have
existing
endless energy, don't they? Or, kids do. That's where they get it. I don't know. But
I think it's also amazing. They see a hill and they're like, run down. I see a hill. I'm like, how am I going to get back up? So, with age, you become a little more cautious. I remember as a kid, like finding a hill was sort of like the ultimate, right? You would like bike all day and just look for a hill. And for me growing up, it was called like Grant Lane, I think. Mm-hmm. And my husband, we actually grew up in the same area. So at one point I was like, did you used to bike down Grant? He's like, of course I did. That was like the neighborhood's big hill. Mm-hmm. So and I never thought about how I would get back up. I was just sort of like, how do I get down this thing? So that's sort of my kids now. And I'm like, I'll stay up here. I'll watch the bikes. We don't have to lock them up.
Oh, so much fun and such memories you're making with your family too, doing that. I mean, this will be something your kids look back on.
Absolutely.
Very fondly. So yeah. Do you remember your first bike?
I do. It was a very big deal because it had this amazing banana seat, which was like a very big deal at the time. And mine was hot pink. Yeah. So, I mean, it's kind of unforgettable, right?
Right.
Yeah. I used to bike with my best friend growing up named Kim, and she lived 2 blocks away from me. And we would both bike ride, and we would bike ride with other girls. And at one point we had a little posse going, and we gave each other little nicknames because I don't know why. I guess we watched Grease. Our obsession with Grease too. We were like, everyone needs a nickname. Anyway, mine was Banana Seat Action because of banana seat. Sure. It was the envy of all.
Oh, I'm sure. And I was telling you earlier, my brother and I used to ride our bikes around too, and he and his friends always put like trading cards, or not trading cards, like playing cards.
Yeah.
In the spokes for some great reason. That was kind of the thing
for cool kids. Yeah. That was for cool kids. I think it used to make a really awesome sound.
Yeah, like
Right? The cars used
yes, I think you're right. Yeah.
to announce they were coming. I just sort of like slowly rode up.
Yeah, same. And we had the tassels on the handlebars was a big
You
deal.
had to. I
Yeah.
mean, come on.
And the bell was pretty big deal. So
The bell was a big deal. And as I mentioned to you before, my younger son, he's 9 now, and he's outgrown the bell, and it's kind of sad.
it's a rite of passage.
I know. Should I tell him that I wanted a bell, that I'd like to have one myself?
Yes.
It could
And
be
then
useful.
bring it all the time when you're on the ride with them, right?
Yes. Yes, embarrass them, tell people to get out of my way. I'm always trying to teach them like bike etiquette, that if you pass someone, you say, on your left, but instead I'll just be like ringing the bell. Setting a wonderful example as usual.
Yes. Do you have a most memorable ride? I mean, I know I do. Do you have one that really sticks out in your mind?
Yeah, unfortunately, the one that comes to mind happened about a year ago, and I was biking with my 9-year-old, and I fell off my bike as an adult. Now, like when I was a kid, I used to fall off my bike all the time. No big deal. It was just like what you did. And back then, we didn't even have helmets. A year ago, I had a helmet on. I was biking with my son. I don't know what happened. I think I took my eye off the road for a second. And all of a sudden, I veered to the right, hit the curb, and just went flying. And it was terrifying. It was terrifying. I guess it was like jarring as an adult to be thrown off my bike. It just wasn't something I thought would happen to me as an adult, to fall off my bike like that. I also I hit my head, so that was terrifying, but I had the helmet on, but it's still scary. And I landed on my shoulder, and I was just in the middle of the road. And I remember I told my son, I said, go home, get daddy. My husband's a doctor, so I figured, he would like put me back together, whatever had happened. But as he sort of scooted away, I realized I am in the middle of the road on the ground. So if a car comes, I'm a goner.
Over.
So I sort of like rolled my way off the street to just get out of the middle of the road. As I was rolling, I realized I wasn't as badly hurt as I thought, and I was able to get up. But I was definitely knocked up for a few days and hugely embarrassed because I had cuts and scrapes all over me. So everyone kept asking what happened, and I had to tell everyone I knew, including my little brother, I fell off my bike.
I think it happens. When I was in middle school, I got hit by a car on my bike, and the driver stopped, but wrote her name on a piece of paper, handed it to me, and went away. And so I was standing in the middle of the road with this bike folded in half. I was bleeding all over, and I wasn't seriously hurt, but it was scary. And some kind strangers picked me up and loaded my bike into their car and took me home. And so it was quite the experience, and it was scary. It was scary.
Right.
Yeah.
That's perfect. So did you get right back on your bike?
I don't think I got back on my bike because it was ruined.
Good point.
I'm sure I swiped one of my siblings' bike because that's how we got around. I mean, that was our mode of transportation back in the day, and
Absolutely.
I didn't want to miss out on too much. How about you? Did it take a while for you to want to get back on?
It did. It took me a little longer than I wanted it to. I wanted to get back on the next day because I felt like, especially as adults, like the longer you go without doing something, it's just going to get harder and harder to do it. But it took me more like 2 or 3 days to get back on. That next day, I was absolutely too scared.
Yeah.
So it took me a little longer than I wanted to, but eventually I got back on. And now that's sort of a distant memory, although I am a little careful to just always look forward.
Yes. Well, yeah, and it's things like that. When it happens, it just is kind of like a reminder of, oh my gosh, we're not so bulletproof as we think we are, and especially at our age, and it's harder to get up afterwards. And it's so great that you do that, and such great memories with your kids. So much fun. Now, do you have a favorite cultural reference, movie, book that deals with cycling?
I mean, not in particular, although I did love the Joseph Gordon-Levitt movie, and the name has escaped me, but I have it on my phone. Premium Rush. He was like a bike messenger. It came out in 2012. Yeah. So when I saw it, I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. And it like glamorized the whole like bike messenger world. And I totally wanted to be a bike messenger after. But in 2012, I had a 1-year-old. So it was not in the cards for me. And as I like to say, I'm still losing the baby weight from, 2011. So not in the cards for me.
There's one, you'll have to check it out. It's a classic, and it has to be from like the early 80s, maybe even must be early 80s. And it's called Breaking Away. It's just a classic bicycle film. There's bike riding, and there's romance and family drama. And I mean, what more could you ask, right?
It sounds like my ideal movie.
Yeah, so check it out. I'm sure it's on one of the streaming services, but you'll definitely have to check that out. Okay, now we have to talk about your newest novel, The Grace Kelly Dress, that came out recently. Tell us about it. I'm obsessed with Grace Kelly. I always have been, ever since I saw her in The Rear Window, my all-time favorite movie. So tell us about the book, where you got your inspiration.
Absolutely. So The Grace Kelly Dress is the story of 3 generations of women and the one wedding dress that binds them together. It's a story about mothers and daughters. It's a story about sisters, and ultimately it's really about the true meaning of belonging. Mm-hmm. So the inspiration, well, first of all, I should say I'm obsessed with weddings, obsessed with wedding dresses. And as you know, you always have to write about the things you're obsessed with, because you spend so long with these things. So my agent sent me a Today Show story about a wedding dress that had been passed down through 11 generations.
Wow.
And I just thought this was the coolest thing. And she said, I think this could be a good jumping off point for a book for you. And I thought about it, and, I sort of came up with the idea for the book. And I realized as I was writing the book, the wedding dress I was describing was Grace Kelly's gown. Yeah. So the original title was Rose Point Lace, because that's one of the types of lace used on Grace Kelly's gown. And my agent said, I think we need a better title. I said, great, so call it The Grace Kelly Dress. And she said, I love the title, but why? And I said, well, don't you see that the wedding dress I'm describing is Grace Kelly's gown? And she was like, no, I had no idea.
How could she not know?
Well, I mean, I thought everyone was as obsessed with this dress as I was, but alas, no. But, I decided to really lean into this idea. So in 1958, when our bride goes to get her dress made, she specifically asks for a dress that looks like Grace Kelly's gown, and it sort of goes from there. And since writing the book, I've realized lots of people are obsessed with Grace Kelly and her wedding gown. I have only met one person who said she does not love Grace Kelly's wedding gown, and I'm still in disbelief over it.
It's beautiful, gorgeous. Yeah.
Just think that dress. I'm still obsessed with it, even after researching it and talking about it for a year. I just can't get enough of it. So, I mean, you write about the things you love and that you're obsessed with, and then you research it, and it's just like fun,
I don't know what that says about me, because I write like creepy thrillers and crime, but it's true. I'm obsessed with crime.
Like little details about your characters, right? Like the things they're obsessed with. Sometimes are things you're obsessed with.
Absolutely fair, because I am obsessed with true crime and all that crazy stuff. But yeah, so is that something you find you do with all your books? Do you just find get your ideas from like a little snippet, like a news article, or
yeah, each book is different, and each book has come from sort of a different place. So no, like each book has been a completely different experience, and each book I feel like I'm starting from scratch again. Like it feels like I've never written a book before. And that always amazes me. Like, I feel like I should just be like, okay, do it, go. But no, every book is a different experience.
Right. Well, we do our inspirations from such different areas and ideas. And do you think you'll ever write a book about bike riding?
It's funny you should mention that. So I'm on a 2-book deal for my next 2 books. So what I'm writing now is called The Liz Taylor Ring, which is about an heirloom ring that's been passed down. And after that, I'm writing a book called The Audrey Hepburn Estate, which is funny because I sort of touched on these grand estates on Long Island. So it's sort of influenced by that. And in that book, when I was biking around my neighborhood, I sort of had some ideas about that book. And I think biking is going to be a part of that book.
Oh, that's so exciting.
I mean, yeah, things just sort of seep in, you know, you just get inspired from the funniest places. And I was on a bike ride with my younger son, and I saw this old mansion that was sort of in a state of disrepair, and I wanted to stop and take photographs, and he said, "Mommy, that's trespassing." I was like, "Okay, you stay in the street." So I like had him stay by the curb, and I was like,
"Keep a lookout." Yeah.
I said, "If anyone comes, just scream." And he was like, "I'm a 9-year-old. How dare you?" It was fine. Nobody came.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Well, now I cannot wait to read what you have next for us too. And I know readers now will be biking out to get the Grace Kelly dress, which number one New York Times best-selling author Kristen Hanna says is fast-paced and entertaining from beginning to end. And it was picked by Good Morning America as one of the books to read while you're stuck at home. So so lots of good reading for those of us stuck at home.
Are you still stuck at home? I'm still stuck at home mostly.
Yes. And reading has been a great pastime during this time, a great reprieve from craziness. So
I couldn't agree more. We need reading more than ever now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Brenda, for sharing your passion of bike riding, and we'll be on the lookout for the Grace Kelly dress in bookstores everywhere now, and keeping an eye out for your newest as well. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.